coming up on stage to invite you back up. So, Bob at Evergreen, and I forget offhand who's all reporting, but just take a look and know when you're coming up. I guess we get Johnny and Lloyd.
And if when Carol comes in, I'll throw her up here.
Okay, double whammy. Awesome. You guys want to?
Well, it is good to be here, and especially working alongside, because I keep saying C2C, but we're not C2C, we're not ABMB Mission, we are now Multiply, right? So I was looking, I was going, hey, my PowerPoint's not up there yet. So we've got a crazy PowerPoint that we're going to show you how ABMB Mission works together with C2C, which is now Multiply. So we've got a cool manifold we're going to show you in a second. But I just wanted to quickly share what's been going on in Alberta with our church plants. First of all, God's been so good to us. Some of the older church plants we've got are Elroy and Seneca Community Grace. A big thing about a church plant is to get a church plant up and going, and then for it to be sustainable. And Community Grace has been a sustainable church plant. Haven't had any funding for over a year, and almost a year and a half now, which is just awesome news, and God continues to bless them. Elroy is raising up two really great young leaders, and plus more in that church that we're looking at transitioning into from a task force to an elders team in the near future. And Lynn God continues to work great in her life as far as sustaining her health. And that's just a complete answer to prayer. And Elroy and Lynn are just a blessing to that church and a blessing to me and our family here. Chris and Gemini down in Pitcher Creek, we at this convention have been praying years ago for a planter, and that we would be able to have that church have a planting couple in there. And like you know, Chris and Gemini have been down there for a number of years. And it's been a struggle. It's been good, and they've been just receiving some really neat blessing lately. They've taken over the food bank. The district came to them and said, "Can you take over the food bank? Because the people that are running it aren't doing a good job, and we think you can, because you've served this community so well in how you've helped us through the fires and the evacuations. They've just been a real service to the community." And so it's just been a blessing to see that. Financially, it's really difficult because they're reaching people that don't have a lot of money. And some of the people that have come to the church, they wanted to do church this way or that way, and Chris said, no, we're doing it this way. And so they've gone to different places, but he's got a church of people who want to reach the lost people in Pitcher Creek. They're reaching out to over 400 families who don't have enough money to pay for food. And so they're in these people's lives, and it's just exciting to see that. But again, Chris, last year, they struggled financially as a church, so Chris took no money from the church, drove to Edmonton every week to run some heavy equipment, and then came back and preached on Sunday, and then went back up Monday morning. This summer, again, he's doing the same thing, but he's got a job near Lethbridge, so he only has to drive an hour and can be home at night. But again, is taking a complete reduction, not a complete, but a half reduction of his salary, so he can have that church sustainable so they can continue to reach people within the Pitcher Creek area. And I just love that he says, this is the church where I'm called, I'm down here, we love this place, and we want to see the gospel go forth. And so they've been blessed, and he's not complaining about that, he's going like, this is what we need to do at this time. And it's just a great thing to see. He's raising up some people in that church too. He's got 3 strong leaders that will become elders soon in that church that are just great godly people, and it's just amazing to see. Brad and Shauna Hubert, again, are doing great. We love Brad and Shauna. They've been in Manifest up in Northwest Calgary for a number of years. They also have been self-sustaining for the last over a year and a bit, which is, again, a miracle, which is great, which is awesome. And they're doing well, but they're not blowing it up. And it's nothing against Brad or Shauna or any of us, but church planting is hard. And so I'm just going to ask you to pray for our churches and our church plants, because Satan hates these things, and he hates church plants. And our Brad and Shauna need, and sometimes you think of people like Brad and Shauna, they're such great, capable people, they don't need much prayer because they're just going to do it because they're so gifted. And they need a lot of prayer. And they are humbled by that and want to see that, and God's going to do some great things in and through them and Manifest. And the last I want to highlight is, you'll meet them tonight, Aaron and Rachel Weiss. They planted a church in Riverbend, Ogden. They're beginning to join us. I don't know if they're full associate, member. There we go. They're coming on, and they are just a great couple. They planted a number of years ago, and they're just doing well. They're also self-sustaining financially, and just making a huge impact in the Riverbend Ogden area here in Calgary. So you'll meet them tonight. Thank you for praying. Thanks for the support. And now Lloyd and I maybe you'll tell us a little bit of what you're going to do, and then we'll do the manifold.
Hi, I'm Lloyd, and my wife Carol, we work together. So Carol's in the room now, so wave at everybody here. And Carol's going to be doing a workshop. I'm going to give a plug on some prayer and revival later on. I think that's one of the things that was just mentioned, is that how we've been emphasizing prayer, and how prayer is such an important part of disciple making, church planting, and we can do more together as we actually just enter in and say, hey God, what's up? And can we join you where you're at? So together, that the world may know, is a catchphrase or our tagline for Multiply. So what you have is 125-year-old mission agency joins together with a national church planting agency, and boom, what do you get? Well, you get Multiply. And what is that? We have a diagram that we're going to show you in just a second that kind of explains it a little bit, but like our poster says, it's about disciple making, it's about church planting, and it's about partnerships unto disciple making and church planting. And so you're taking the strengths of kind of a national church planting movement with the strengths of an international church planting agency. And so there's things that are coming together. And so we hope to be able to actually provide the same services to all of our churches and working together that have been there, but also grow from the strengths of each of us, these two partners that have come together. So you have the intercultural asset-based community development, evangelism in an intercultural way coming from one side, and then on the other side you have Ascent Base Camp, and you've got assessments, training, providing boards around people to see church plants happen. So now can we actually put this together in some sort of meaningful flow? So be warned, I'm about to show you a diagram that was hand-drawn, not by me, by somebody. So here I am, working on behalf of somebody else's beautiful stuff. So don't get overwhelmed yet. We're going to explain it in parts. But the idea is that it's for lack of a better word, a manifold system, okay? And that is, there's 2 intakes and 3 outputs, let's call it that way. And they represent the 2 things that have come together. The input from kind of a short-term missions, experiential disciple-making kind of avenue, and one from a base camp and assessment coming in. And then you've got your outputs into local church, church planting, or international work. So here we go. Wow, that is unseeable.
Those are churches. Those are little churches right in the bottom there.
Oh, the manifold disappeared in this lighting. Sorry. Okay, well, whatever. It'll still work. The idea is that we have local churches, right? And that we're all part of a big family working together, and we will continue to provide experiential, team-based, short-term missions assignments, partnerships, like some words that you may have heard before, SOAR, or Action, Trek, other ideas too, like working in partnership here in Alberta with the colleges, the camps, the universities, seminaries. Like there are inputs for disciples to be growing in their disciple-making capacity, and also getting exposed to what does it mean to be a church planter, or an international church planter, or someone working in the marketplace, or international mission, those kind of things.
And where we find this from a church planting North America perspective really helpful is because as we've grown C2C and now into Multiply, all of the low-hanging fruit has kind of begun. Those people that were kind of, hey, I want to go church plant, and that's kind of, we've seen that phase kind of happen, and now we're going to go upstream. We go, from the different manifold to figure out how do we get more people and go upstream for the younger people to help them come in, so we can begin to not just find church planters, but actually build, recruit, and train church planters and missionaries.
Yeah. And so you can just keep going. So if the manifold was drawn here, which should be, from the local church, we also have people being mobilized into Ascent Base Camp. What's Ascent Base Camp?
Ascent Base Camp is a day, kind of a day seminar that we just talk about. We invite people to come to hear about what church planting is, what does it take, what does it look like. Maybe you're a church planter, but maybe you could also think that church planting is not for me here, but maybe it's church planting in Thailand or in some other country. But it allows people to come and get exposed to what it means to be a church planter / church planter missionary overseas here in North America, or just to be part of a team. So it just kind of lets people come into the manifold and go, oh, okay, I think I want to be here, but maybe I'm just going to be in my local church or go overseas.
Yeah. And so what we know is if you think about if you we've got training happening from different animals. Most, I would say 99% of the people that join into some sort of whatever extracurricular discipleship experience, they'll be back in the local church with some new equipping, new resourcing. They've got new networks as well, and so they're helping us out in their churches. But some of those folks that get into the system of going through all of this discernment and disciple making, there will be new church plants that will result as well.
And as those new church plants result, that's where we're multiplied. It used to be C2C, but here in North America, we come and we help assess and say whether or not, if say, I want to be, they come to an Ascent base camp, they go, I think I'm a church planter. My pastor in the church has said, hey, I think we're church planters. We put them through assessment center, and then as they go through that, then we can then coach them and then train them and then support them, an acronym we call ACTS, so we can walk through them so they can begin to plant a church.
And then our other output, obviously, is the international world. We are part of the international community of Mennonite Brethren. So there's a huge family, right, around the world. And so we have conferences around the world. We have emerging conferences around the world. And so some of the folks that we're working with, actually you find they have an aptitude for language, or they have an aptitude to be in translation, whether it be language or cultural translation. And they can get involved in different things, usually capacity building, what Multiply is really moving towards is serving under the apostolic leader of a particular community, wherever we are in the least reach zone. So how do we help come along some of these evangelist apostle types and shore them up to allow them to do what they do, and that is plant churches in their context. So how can we come along and basically help church planters in their national context?
And what is really awesome about this partnership now is that when we were C2C, we were pretty good with kind of white Canadians and struggled with some of our ethnic ministries, especially with our Indigenous peoples ministries. And now having the expertise of Multiply or of MB Mission coming in, it allows us, because the nations are coming here, so now that expertise we can help employ here in Canada with all of the people that are coming here. And that's just a beautiful thing that especially you guys bring in all of.
Well, we're just on the very, very front end of the growing, especially First Nations, so that's a place where you can even imagine, we'll talk a bit more tomorrow about that, but those of you that are familiar with credentialing and all, our credentialing process right now is a lot of paper, a lot of questions, a lot of stuff like this, and so for those of us that are coming into the ABMB conference that are oral based and more narrative based, how do you do this, right? And so we're just exploring some ideas of sharing circles to try to still get that same information, still get the same kind of biblical study going, but can we do it in an oral tradition and some paper as well? So those are some places we're exploring. I want to introduce you to somebody, and that is, this is just a summary, there we go. Jamie Anderton. And so Matt, Dick, can you come on up here? We've been in conversation and discernment with Jamie. She's a member of the church here for a couple of months now, and she's just a fantastic leader. And after the conversation that we had with kind of that consortium with the colleges, the camp, the conference, and Multiply, how do we help emerging leaders in Alberta? And so Jamie is a dynamic leader who is doing it already and wants to jump in, and so she's taking a huge kind of risk by saying, okay, God picked me, and so Multiply as an agency is going to provide the vehicle for her to actually become part of the front desk idea here in Alberta. So tell us a little bit about what you know of Jamie.
How many of you have met Jamie so far? Okay, and those of you who haven't is because she's not here this weekend. Otherwise, you would know who she is. Jamie is awesome. She's full of joy. She's an encourager. She sees the gold in people and calls it out. And a bit of Jamie's history: she grew up here in this church, and is one of our worship leaders. And she did, when she was a youth, and I was a youth pastor back in the day. She did Ministry Quest. If you guys remember the Ministry Quest program. So she was part of that program, and then she ended up doing a trek after high school, and has been involved in various missions and ministry discipleship programs like Trek through the years, but has always remained faithful in serving our local church and committed to this church, and she's been a blessing to us, so we're excited about sharing her with the rest of the province.
Yeah, so I would say she's a mobilizer. She's a very gregarious personality, worship leader, but she's disarming in the sense that I think she'll do a really good job of actually meeting with your emerging leaders from your church and helping you as a church to actually say, okay, how do we help people go from A to B in this new millennial situation?
When I think about what Gil shared earlier about distinction and calling out the gifts in people, that's what Jamie does really, really well. She just looks at people and she makes them feel like God's called me, that God's equipped me, that God has a plan for me, and she's dynamic at doing that. So I think it'll be a great fit.
So she's not here this weekend, so we are putting together videos so if you get to meet her at least digitally at some point soon. This kind of model of having an emerging leader person in a province, we have just started in Saskatchewan as well. Ryan and Terry Epp are a couple there in Saskatchewan, and they've just put on their first SOAR program there, brought together 100 and some young adults from across the Saskatchewan province and are working with the churches there. So this type of model of having somebody like a front desk is happening, and we just want to say, hey, let's see it happen here in Alberta. And it's going to take some resources as well, and that is through Multiply, she's what we call fully relationally funded, and that is just like any other ministry like Youth for Christ or whatever. We're asking support networks to say, hey, do you want to be part of this? This is somebody that's of service to you. Let's get involved. So please talk to Carol and I or Johnny or Matt, and we would love to just say, hey, let's rally together. Let's see Jamie help us out with these emerging leaders that are amongst us already. Thank you. Page 14 to 17. Yeah, I know it's 3 pages. We have a lot to say, but there's good stuff in there and some pictures as well. God bless. Thank you.
I guess I'm up here anyway, so I'm going to invite Mark Westner. Let's give Multiply a hand. Thanks, Lloyd. Thanks, Johnny.
I was like, good morning. Good afternoon now, whatever time it is. So have you ever done an icebreaker? No, I'm just joking. So I've got a few minutes here. I just want to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the seminary. I love hearing all the leadership development stuff, the front counter piece, the way we all work together. It's very, very encouraging. I'll just paint a little bit of a picture for the seminary. I'm assuming the PowerPoint that... I don't have a PowerPoint? Okay, let's assume I don't have a PowerPoint. So, if I do, it'll pop up there. So imagine, if you will, there is a map of Canada on that screen. And on that map, you would see various little piles of books that would represent where we have campus locations. And you see a bunch of other things scattered all across Canada. But what you would notice, is that in Alberta, I'm supposed to stand back here, I forgot. In Alberta, there wouldn't be a pile of books. It would look empty. And so you may be going, so what does the seminary do for those of us in Alberta? If that map was on there, I would point to the far side, and there'd be a little term that said Acts World Campus. And I'm going to show you, well, I might have a video later on to show you, but I'll tell you what that is now. So just in January, we were able to launch something called the Acts World Campus. And so what that is, out of our BC office, we've taken the courses, all the graduate level courses that we do, and we're making them borderless. And so what we're doing is we're condensing everything into 8 weeks, having it all video-based, small little chunks here and there, like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 8 minutes, that kind of thing. And we're making that all digitally accessible, but the goal is to have local facilitators in Calgary, in São Paulo, in Fort St. John, and wherever it is, who will teach these courses as adjunct faculty, so they actually have the expertise, but they're using the core content that we have, and it's available to anybody in the world. That's not a potential thing, that's actually up and running right now. So if you were to go axworldcampus.com, you would see a ton of courses that are actually already up and running, and our enrollment is way ahead of projections. So you, your churches, your leadership teams, whatever, have full access to all of that right now. It's done through ACTS seminaries, but it's actually, the engine is MB Seminary. We're the ones who are leading it, we're the ones who are building it, we're the ones who are driving it, but it's branded as ACTS because of our partnership there. So that's something that all of you here, your churches can take advantage of, and it's ready to go right now. The other piece with that, and here I am speaking a little bit, I might be getting ahead of myself, but it's exciting. As I was saying, we have all those videos. Well, what if you don't want to take a graduate course? What if you just want to learn? And so our goal is to take those resources and repackage them and have them available online for streaming for a way smaller fee, where we can custom build Maybe you want an elder's leadership certificate that covers Bible and theology and strategic leadership or that kind of thing, or whatever, that we could actually be able to build custom certificates basically that are all video based, again, that you don't need to be a student to. We could package those for your churches. So I can sell you the idea now, I can't sell you the product yet, but that's where we hopefully will be the end of this year. In terms of relating with churches, we have four kind of categories or frameworks that we use. One we would call teaching churches, and so those are churches around the country that there's some sort of formal-ish relationship with, where maybe some of our faculty will come to your church on a regular basis and offer 1-week courses on spiritual formation, on Old Testament, on leadership, whatever it is. And so that the expectation is we'd actually have a few key churches around the country who will make the commitment that, we'll host these things, we'll promote these things on an ongoing basis. With that, some of your churches are full of people who actually have the credentials to teach with us. And so we would love to have the conversation, whether they're on staff or not, could they be adjunct faculty with us? What is their area of expertise? Would it fit what we're doing? And so you could actually have local people also then teaching graduate courses for credit with the seminary. So that's kind of that teaching part. And the third piece of that would be if you're doing internship programs, we can convert that into graduate credit. So as your interns go through, they actually get maybe 3 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours credit at the seminary as well. So that's kind of that teaching church part. And then if you were to go over here, again, I'm doing also, you don't see the screen. I say it in my mind, you don't see it. So you're probably wondering, what's he pointing to, right? The other one would be equipping churches, and those are churches that, again, a bit of where we can form relationships where they're saying, okay, all that graduate stuff is great, but really what we want, weekend seminars. Could you have one of your faculty members come out on a Sunday afternoon and talk about peacemaking, right? We're Mennonite brethren, we're peacemakers. What does that mean? I was just in Ontario at Waterloo and spent a couple hours in the afternoon after a church service, and there was like 120-ish people there. Talking about peacemaking. What does that mean for us? And so all those kinds of seminars or weekend workshops on leadership, on raising volunteers in your church, whatever, we can do that. Often what we'll say, if a church is willing to host us, we would love it if you could actually live stream it out to other churches. So set up a video camera, have a room that has decent lighting, and other churches around the province, around the country, could also participate that way. So that's more the equipping side. And then we have what we call investing churches. So those are churches who would say, we recognize that tuition covers only a third of the expenses, which means we have to fundraise the other 2/3. We want to be part of that. And so, putting us in your budget, whatever that is, whatever the number is, but helping fund the operations that allows all that kind of stuff to happen. Again, if you'd see numbers on the screen, about 30% of our churches across Canada financially support the seminary, which means 70% don't. So if you'd love to see that number go higher, I'd love to talk with you, because it would be great. You may have heard recently that we've been doing some resizing of the seminary, which has been, I'll just be blunt, a horrible experience, because it's never fun to be slapped in the face with financial realities and recognize that actually impacts real people. That's what we're going through right now. If you've heard any of that, I'll just say that we have a 7-part strategy that will have us hit a balanced budget within 2 years. And so if you're hearing rumors that the seminary is sinking, it's not. We are correcting things right now financially, which has been hard and painful, and I'm not going to gloss over it because that's what it is. But our goal is that within 2 years we will actually stabilize. Not our goal, these things will work. We'll stabilize and then be able to grow again. So the seminary is going to continue. We're just resizing at this point so that we can continue. And then, so that's part of that picture. Scholarships for students are awesome. Like if you just want to support students, have matching scholarships, give bursaries, that's a great way of doing that too. And then the last piece is sending churches, and those are churches who send students. Whether they're coming to us in Langley, BC, or our new partnership in Saskatoon with Horizon, with CMU in Winnipeg. We have a partnership with Tyndale in Ontario. If we get some of these teaching churches going up in Alberta here, that could be the place you send them. Maybe it's your church, maybe it's across the street. So students we need students, right? We have lots of students, we're growing. We have 126 students in 2018, which is our highest student count ever. and it's trending up. By most metrics, the seminary is doing well because we're doing it together with churches, right? Our heartbeat is the life, is the heartbeat of the church. I've said in different places, you could argue that the seminary actually doesn't have a vision statement. Our vision statement is, what's your church's vision? Can we come alongside you, equip you, train you, do whatever we can so that you can fulfill the mission that God has called you to do in your context? That's our mission. So that would be there. I was going to say the last thing would have been the Acts World Campus, but nothing's showing up. So if you just go to Acts, like ACTS, worldcampus.com, you'll see all kinds of stuff there. You can sign up for courses. And then I would have 3 prayer requests for you. Well, and normally I would direct you over to a table where I had a prayer sign-up sheet, but as I was flying in yesterday, I realized I forgot all of our promotional stuff back at my office. So I have nothing to give you. So you can imagine that there's promotional stuff over there. But on there would be a piece of paper that would say Monday morning prayer update or something like that. And every Monday morning I sit at my desk and I actually type out a prayer list that goes to everybody, a bunch of people across Canada, a few hundred people, and just saying, these are some things I see on the horizon. Could you pray for me and for the seminary? And if you would do that, I would love, just send me an email and I'll put you on that. I don't use your email for anything else. It goes right to me. My email address is just Mark Wessner, so MarkWessner, my name, at mbseminary.ca. But 3 prayer requests. 1, wisdom for our leadership teams. There's lots of moving pieces around the country, tons of opportunity, and just the discernment to know what do we pursue, what don't we pursue. We have a partnership with Multiply where we're training, it's called Missional Leader Training. So it's going in Malawi and the Philippines so far is where we've created curriculum and training to equip national church leaders who fall in love with Jesus but aren't equipped to lead. And so biblical training, leadership training. And so there were 90 people last year that went through this internationally, and there's going to be even more this year. So wisdom to how to manage that would be the one thing. The second piece or whatever would be just for our students, because if you've ever been a student, there's a lot of shifting going on, right? A lot of sorting out, prayer for our students. And then the last piece, I would say, if you've ever heard the acronym MIFG, when I went to Bible college 100 years ago in Saskatchewan, Christian Missionary Alliance, the vice president of something or other, I can't remember what his title was, but Arnold Cook was his name. His statement was always, what's your MIFG? Maximum impact for God. Pray that the seminary continues to pursue its MIFG. What is the maximum impact for God that we can make? I would love your prayer for that. So I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed the PowerPoint and all the visuals I prepared for you. They were great. And as you think of the seminary, pray for us and send students, engage us. We want to work with you. Whatever we can do to come alongside you in your ministry, we would absolutely love to do. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you. I believe this is my 7th in a row conference, and it's kind of fun because I'm recognizing more and more people. My name is Bob, and I'm from Camp Evergreen. There are people from all over Alberta coming to Camp Evergreen as guests. Christians, non-Christians, public school, private school, Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, atheist, transgender, gay. They're all coming to camp as guests where we have the opportunity to portray Jesus to them, in a sense, introducing them to Christianity, but more importantly, we can give them a good time. Why is that important? Because every year, guests come back as campers, where we can very clearly share the life-changing good news of Jesus with them. Why is that important? Because every summer, campers come to know Jesus for the first time. Every summer. Including one of our Roughing It boy campers who became a Christian, and when we gave him his Bible at the end of the week, he said, "Hey, could I get 2 more Bibles for my parents? They're not Christians." Paul Lowen was on greeting duty in the middle of summer when this family of 4 walks in the door, and they look a little lost. And so Paul goes over and says, "Hey, how are you doing? You look a little lost. Can I help you?" We've never been to church before. Do you mean you've never been to Summit before? No, we've never been to church before. How would you hear about us? What brings you here? And the younger brother proudly points to his Camp Evergreen t-shirt. The story continues because this family continues to attend church on a regular basis. The older brother joined the greeting team because he was so happy of how he was greeted, and Mom recently took communion for the first time. How cool is that? Many more campers grow in their spiritual walk every summer. And campers come back as staff where they experience this rich, fertile ground for leadership development. We start off by teaching them how to sweep. Who knew our staff don't know how to sweep? Well, they don't. So we teach them how to sweep and to clean toilets, and they learn how to deal with people in conflict. And then we start them off in orienteering because it's not that dangerous of an activity. But we have 18, 19, 20-year-olds up on the zip deck learning risk management. If they tie that knot wrong, we're in trouble. And some of our staff end up staying for the year, and so they learn how to pray in front of our guest groups. They become discipled, they disciple each other, and I want to thank Paul and Lawrence for coming out this winter. They took our seasonal staff through our confession of faith. And some of these youth make their way back into your church, and so they lead youth and they lead worship. You know Matt Jansen, some of you know Matt Jansen from Highland, one of my favorite staff members. He went to Bethany, he graduated from CBC. He's now at Highland Community Church in Abbotsford as a youth pastor, serving alongside his cousin Jay Jansen, who's also an alumni of Camp Evergreen. Current president of CBC students, Cheyenne Reimer, camp alumni. And currently I have Harold up at camp. Harold's been coming to camp as a camper and a seasonal staff since before I arrived. Something draws him back because he's not from a Christian family. His parents are not supportive. He's from a very rough background, and yet he keeps coming back every year. Most recently, he was in Vernon working at Cal Tire, and I can tell you he was making a lot more money than I can pay him. And yet he's back again. He's one of my favorite hosts because he does a good job of that, but I'm not quite sure where he is with the Lord. As my good friend Paul said, we need you. What I've said so far is meat and potatoes. Here's the gravy. We need you. Some of you might be thinking, camp's pretty big now. They're well established. They don't need me anymore. Some people think, well, we've done our time, and it's hours away. It's time for the next generation. And some of you are in so deep, so committed, that you're an absolute encouragement to me. Here's the deal. We need you. We can't do this by ourselves. We need individuals to volunteer, to give, and to pray. And we need all three because they're equally important. Because if we all prayed for summer and didn't volunteer, we'd be hooped. If you read my exciting report, you'll notice that we had 91 volunteers last summer. 3 flew at their own expense from Germany. How cool is that? If we didn't have those volunteers, there's a good chance that that roughing it boy and his family would not be attending Summit today. We need you to give in order for us to make our budget. We need you as a church to send us your children, because your children will invite their friends will come to know Jesus, and their families will come to church. We need you to send us your youth on staff. And I would like to challenge each church here to send us 2 volunteers this summer to work in the kitchen. Because no matter where you are in Alberta, you're a lot closer than Germany. We need our Bible schools to continue to partner with us, and we need to think of even better ways to do that. We can't do this on our own. This is your camp. We serve you, and we're in this together. And we have some pretty exciting news. The board of directors on March 9th, voted to start a new lodge in October of this year. This lodge has been the dream of Camp Evergreen for probably over 20 years. Different locations, different styles have been thrown past the board, and in 2013, we started reaching higher. Our goal was to build 2 staff homes and a lodge. The homes were built and paid for in December 2017, and now our attention is focusing on the lodge and all the infrastructure, which is a lot, needed to put it together. Starting in October is a very aggressive goal, and we will need the support of each one of us. Some of you might be wondering, why a new lodge? We've been turning campers away since shortly after registration opened in January. We have been turning guest group after guest group after guest group away April till the end of October. This lodge is critical to our growth, allowing us to continue to grow our current style of ministry, which is more guests equals more campers equals more children coming to know Jesus equals more staff back in our churches. This lodge will also allow us to grow into all kinds of new ministry. We would love to host this conference. We would love to host your church leadership team. We would love to host your Alpha weekend. And finding the lodge is critical to our much needed winter revenue, which is needed for a healthy budget. We're going to try a flyover now, and we'll see if it works. The lodge will have a kitchen dining hall for up to 400 people, several meeting rooms, lounges, Christian lounges, so it's more like a sitting area, and 8 hotel-style rooms with the ability to expand to another 7. Ducks. Lots of ducks needed to be put in a row to get us where we are today. Big shout out to Don Kwok, who's done a ton of work to get us where we are today. Ducks. Many more ducks need to be put in a row for us to put a shovel in the ground in October. The biggest of the ducks, obviously, is our finances to make this vision a reality. Eric Schubert, our board chair, at our last meeting, shared the story from Luke chapter 11, where a man is asking his friend for a loaf of bread with shameless audacity. We're in a similar position. It's midnight, the lodge is coming, and we need to ask you with shameless audacity to join us, to support us. Why? So we can allow more children, youth, and families to come to know Jesus. If we all leave this afternoon thinking, wow, that's a kind of a nice looking lodge and a great idea, I sure hope they can raise the money for it. We've missed the point. The point in 1963 was for the MBs in Alberta to join together to reach the children and youth of our province for Christ. That is the same point today. In fact, I would argue it's a sharper point. I have several board members here with me today, the first full-time director of camp. We would love to answer any of your questions. And as you drink from our mug, and if you didn't get one, I'll put some more up on this table. As you drink from our mug, my hope is that you'll be reminded to volunteer, to pray, and to give. Thank you. As Curtis is coming, I'll collect my ducks.
Wondering when you were going to get to those. So, as was everybody else, I'm sure. I'm Curtis Kuby. I'm the Director of Development and Program Director for Social Entrepreneurship at Columbia Bible College. This is Melanie Olfert. She is, I hope, no stranger to you in Alberta here. She's been serving alongside Paul in finding ways that we can better partner and serve you here in Alberta. We're with Columbia Bible College, and I believe we also have a slide presentation with visuals, so I'm going to pass it over.
Nice to see you all. I know quite a few of you from spending some time in Alberta as well. My family spent a year here not too long ago and have a real heart for Alberta, and especially seeing Alberta students coming to Columbia Bible College. I feel particularly invested in that and love a lot of the Alberta students that are there right now. From 1-year students that come for a year of discipleship training up to 4-year degree students like Cheyenne Reimer was mentioned. She was our student council president this year. She's from Southern Alberta. and lots of amazing, amazing, talented leaders from Alberta that we're excited about. So we're going to start with a testimony.
It's embedded.
Okay,
It's
so we'll just wait for it.
It's embedded. There we go.
My name is Logan Wilton. I'm in my third year of the youth work program here at Columbia Bible College. Oh man, I've grown so much in my time at Columbia. When I came here, I didn't have much biblical background. I was a fairly new believer, and so I just kind of like dove head first into biblical theology without knowing anything really. And so like all the concepts and ideas were so new to me. And education, like in youth work, I could have gone to a secular school, but getting one that is so entrenched in biblical teaching, and like it's so important to me to get that godly perspective, and because it is such an important part of my life and like my being. One of the classes that I've enjoyed the most was Gospel of Mark. Like it really taught me how to read the Bible. I didn't have much of a biblical background coming in, and just the way that Zook presented the Bible made it so, he made it real. I just feel like I feel equipped for whatever God has in store for me. And over my years at Columbia, they really helped foster and show me like what it means to have a like genuine relationship with God, and how to make my faith my own instead of just that of what I saw around me.
Yeah, we have a variety of students from different areas across Canada, United States, a few internationals every year. We're just over 400 students per year typically. And the core of what we do is discipleship and leadership development, as we're talking about here. How we equip emerging leaders to serve in our community and our churches and really be a light in the world. And so these students are coming to Columbia, being equipped, becoming strong leaders, and coming back and serving in your churches as lay leaders, pastors, all sorts of different ways that they contribute. There's another quote, if we can get the next slide. This is from a one-year Quest student. No, well, the essence of it, he's from Edmonton, and his parents had sent Columbia a quote that they had said that he had told them, I don't know how I would have functioned in my life if I had not gone to Columbia, because he learned so much about himself, about his calling. He learned academically, biblical knowledge, discipleship, spiritual formation, life skills such as how Christian decision making, and ethical reasoning, and all these things that in 1 year he felt like he was so equipped for life. And we just feel passionately that students come for at least a year, it's really 8 months, to invest in learning about God themselves, their calling, and spiritual formation. Do we not have any slides? Should I just keep going?
We all need to get close.
Okay. The next slide is about our student leaders, and I particularly enjoyed the last few weeks on campus because I've been in a lot of student leadership interviews as we're hiring student ambassadors to represent Columbia. Students that just can share about their Columbia's experience to other students. There's a lot of leadership positions that students are involved in on campus, from resident leaders. Yep, got it. So that's our big crew from this past year. So students that are working in the dorm as leaders, commuter hosts who are welcoming in students that don't live on campus, and worship teams, chapel teams, design teams, social committee, missional life committee, all sorts of different leadership positions. And I have been so inspired by these students, asking them questions about their faith and their leadership. And the words that kept coming to my mind of these students is that they are brave, they're vulnerable, they're adaptable, teachable, and passionate, and love the Lord. And I have just been so impressed with them. And I'll pass it on to Curtis for some program.
Yeah, and I can tell you, just even looking at the faces of these students, God's got their futures planned out. He knows what he's doing, and I see many of them, and I get the sense that many of them will end up in vocational ministry, and if not vocational, then in a lay capacity. I mean, they love the church, which is very exciting. It's very exciting to see. So that brings us to the next point, equipping the church. And really, CBC is trying to take measures and, as much as possible, pray in, of course, and discern what programs, areas that God is kind of presenting us with in order to better equip students to serve in their local communities. Of course, church being the biggest component of that. So just a couple of examples of what CBC is trying to do. We remain committed to the biblical core. That's not going to change, just want to say that. So our biblical studies program continues to be one of our big 4-year programs, of course, and all of the core biblical training that goes into that. Every student takes New Testament survey, Old Testament survey, all of those important critical pieces. So here's some examples. I don't know if you can click to the next slide. Yes. So Gil presented yesterday. We're just so blessed to have Gil on staff with us. We're engaged in helping local churches, with important stuff like this. How do we keep the next generation engaged? How do we reach out to them? What does that look like? Another program, and this is moving more to the programming side at CBC, is a programming I'm involved in called social entrepreneurship. And I think we have a video of that one. And this is Abby.
You don't have to look far to see the pains and problems in this world. I wanted to make a difference, but I didn't know where to start. Through the social entrepreneurship program, I'm learning how to make my dream of impacting the world a reality. I'm learning that business and leadership skills are only a part of making a positive change. Faith is the foundation that impacts everything I do, whether I work for a ministry or in the marketplace. I've discovered my calling through social entrepreneurship. Learning how the Bible is integrated with the real world has transformed how I see business. It's changed how I see the world. I no longer see just problems, I see solutions. And I'm excited to make the world a better place.
We don't show you that because, the guy that's in there is incredibly handsome. We show you that just as an example. That's one diploma that we've developed. There's an applied leadership diploma, and now we have a 4-year Bachelor of Arts in Applied Leadership, which is a very holistic degree. Students study leadership skills, they study business administration skills, and of course they take all of the core biblical training as well. So very well-rounded and equipped, I think, to serve in the local church now and in the future, because we know things change, right? Another program that we're hoping to develop and is a new healthcare assistant certificate program. We're in discussion right now, and Gil, our fearless leader, and Gwen are working on this. We're hoping to launch it. It's not quite there yet, but it's something we sense a need for. And we've been approached by local groups saying, listen, we love the character of your students. We need them to come serve in our institutions and our facilities. Their character is what matters to us. Would you partner with us? And so we're trying to respond to what God seems to be kind of bringing to us. And lastly, and this is kind of a neat one because you guys have been talking about being intercultural. Paul mentioned that this morning. At CBC, we recognize the need. We also serve in a local context. And if you know Abbotsford, roughly 20% of our population is Indo-Canadian. And it's easy for us just to get caught up in the things we're doing. We're an institution, we're focused on ourselves. And that's not healthy. We need to be a blessing in our community, even as a college. And so one of the courses we launched, just somebody approached us and said, hey, could we launch this conversational Punjabi course? I mean, we didn't really even we advertised it, but that's generous. We had 25 people sign up, like overnight kind of thing. And it's awesome. Here they are. They want to reach out to their neighbors, right, and share the good news with them. So that's just one little glimpse of how CBC is recognizing the need to engage as well. I'll hand it back over to Melanie. And Paul asked us to share this next section, which is, I think, incredibly important.
How can your students come? We hear it's expensive or it's far away and all these things, but We definitely want to make it affordable. First of all, there's a lot of generous donors and conference church support that helps to pay for a lot of what happens at Columbia. And then we have a lot of generous donors that create scholarships, bursaries, church match grant. There's a lot of financial aid available. So the price that you see on the website is not always the price that students pay. And we hope that churches will support their students in coming, especially if you feel that there's potential for them for leadership in your church. We are also very aware that sending your students all the way to BC, there may be some fear and what if they don't come back? And so we've been trying to strategically work with churches on how to nurture those relationships, how to keep them engaged with their home church here in Alberta or whatever province they're from, helping equip the pastors and how to engage them through their time at Columbia, and also helping the students always think back to their local church context and equipping them to go back effectively. So entrance scholarships are automatic money for grades, basically. So if a student has over 85% their final GPA in high school, they automatically get $1,500 to $2,000 just by having their application in by March 15th. And then there are other scholarships that open March 15th, open until May 15th, and those are based on whatever the donor feels that they want to contribute to. So it can be community involvement, or it can be academics, or church partnership, that sort of thing. So lots and lots of scholarships to apply for. Bursaries are based on need, so students fill out their financial need situation, and there's money that we're able to offer them through that. And then the biggest one we want to highlight are the church match bursaries and the camp match bursaries. So that is if any church, doesn't matter the denomination or anything, church contributes $500 for their student, Columbia will contribute $500 as well.
Up to 1,000.
Yeah, so that makes it's up to
No, they
the
can
church
do
up to 1,000.
1,000, and we'll match 1,000. Yeah.
Right, it's 500 a semester. That's why I'm thinking 500. So yeah, up to 1,000 for the year. So definitely take advantage of that, and that also goes for camp. So the camp will give money towards the student, and the college will also match that. And I believe there's some discussion as well about third party, possibly with denominational support as well. So that's exciting, and lots of opportunities to help out.
Yeah, and I would encourage you, if you have any students you know are going to be coming, the church match bursary, I'd like to say we give away a ton of those. We only gave away around $75,000 last year, which is great, but we had over 400 students. So this is my job as Director of Development. I like it if you make it a little harder in that sense. We want to give away more money. If you have a student that's at all interested in going to Columbia Bible College or any other institution, please encourage them to do so and back it up with resources to support them. It means the world to them. So we appreciate you. Just wanted to say thank you for inviting us here. Paul, I mean, you've just been such an advocate for the college, and I know all of you. Thank you very much.
CBC and the other presenters. Just really quick, my neighbor last year came to me and said, hey, we're going to Camp Evergreen. Have you ever heard of it? Would your kids consider coming with us? My neighbors are non-church family, have no faith, and they're inviting me, an MB pastor, and my kids to Camp Evergreen. And so we said yes, and our kids went with them. And then this year I was chatting with their oldest daughter, and who'd be about 14 or 15. She said she's going back to camp to be. Is it the pit crew or the pit crew? So she's coming as a pit crew member this year, and is hoping to be a counselor one day. And so she's. It's really cool to see that happening in my own neighborhood. So very neat. Even personally, just quick anecdotes. I gave my life to Jesus as an 8-year-old at camp. I got my first ministry opportunity at camp, where I got to lead Bible studies before I'd even read the Bible, and that's for real. And then I went to Bethany College, where I was a student. Gil's very first class. Where's Gil? Gil's very first year of teaching was my 3rd year at Bethany College, and also at the Seminary grad. And so the organization you just heard about, or like organizations, have been a significant part of my own faith journey. My guess is if we went around and heard your stories, it would be similar. And so we thank you, all of you guys, for the role that you're all playing to make disciples of Jesus. It's awesome. So you've heard the reports. As an acknowledgement that we have done so, there's a motion that we'll bring up on the screen now to receive the 2018 ABMB reports as presented. Would there be a seconder for that motion? Okay, thank you, Carrie. And any comments, questions? Okay. All in favor to receive those reports? Thank you very much. That's passed. At this point, I'm going to invite Paul Lowen up.
All right, we're going to move into a number of breakouts, and I know you saw prayer up there before. We're going to get back to that later on, specifically talking and praying for different ministries, but we're kind of on a bit of a time crunch here right now. We've got 3 breakouts. They're all 50, that is 50 minutes long, and so we need to move through these things kind of quickly. There's no kind of coffee break, so grab your tea or coffee or whatever kind of as you're transitioning from one to the next, but kind of keep it moving so we can be done in time tonight for the dinner tonight. So the first breakout, Discipling on Mission, that's in the basement. Investing in Tomorrow's Leaders is really kind of around the budget. It's in the preschool room, which is, you go through those double doors over there, the preschool room and the nursery is right in through there, okay? And so you'll see them over there. And in the staff room is when you go out these doors, just off to your right, and it's kind of in behind that wall, okay? Second one, the 2 that are different is the 3 and 4, so take note of that in terms of location. Collaborating partnerships, Elton De Silva. I always want to call him Dr. Elton De Silva. It just kind of has a ring to it, but we're not quite there yet, huh? Where are you, Elton?
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, he said he's working on his doctorate, I think. So, what about baptism is the other one, Lawrence Hebert. So one of the conversations that we're having nationally is what are we talking about when we're talking about baptism, and so that's actually on the docket in terms of the larger national conversation, and Lawrence will be leading that. And so please take note. If you get confused, there's one of these. There's going to be signs posted everywhere at any of those doors where they are, so that'll help you get to the next location. Can everyone stand, please? All right. Let's pray.